Hey, what's up YouTube? Here with another video, and today I'm going to be talking about some first Berserker Khazan. This is a game that before the review cycle was pretty much not on my radar at all. I pretty much completely wrote it off, mainly because most anime games that are going for the Souls-like action genre, in my opinion, tend to be pretty cheap and a little weird and janky in the way they're designed. And I know people like Stellar Blade, but to me that game is just this hodgepodge of action game mechanics that really don't fit well together, and it's not very well made, but people seem to like that game. Cold Vein, another game that is kind of fitting what I'm talking about. That game is really bad, but and then AI Limit, which is coming out alongside the first Berserker. I played the demo, and that game, in my opinion, is also not that good. So these games to me don't really have a good track record. So when I see the anime aesthetic and the sort of Souls like gameplay, I'm immediately like, oh, okay, it's gonna be one of these games. But to my surprise, everyone was saying it was good. So I ended up buying the game, playing it for myself. I could have just tried the demo, but I figured it was good enough, and I bought the game, and I'm about 25 hours in. I've beaten, I think, the fifth or sixth major boss, and yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with the majority of what everyone is saying. I think it's a really good game, and I'm here to talk about it. I'm going to start with the positives, and then I'll go on to the negatives. We'll separate it like that. First off, let's just talk about the general quality aspect of the game, which sort of caught me off guard, because again, these games to me sort of exude like cheapness and jankness, and they sort of sit somewhere in between AA and AAA, but oftentimes I feel like the AA aspects sort of seep through the cracks in like the hitboxes or the animations, right? This game, to my surprise, right now, 25 to 30 hours in, everything is holding up nice. I don't feel like I'm getting hit by anything weird as far as hitboxes or general enemy movesets. Nothing feels cheap. All the bosses have fun movesets, unique movesets. There's a little bit of reusage where you might fight a mini boss and then the actual end level boss might have some of the moves, but nothing too horrible. A huge aspect of these games is definitely the bosses, so I feel like it's important for them to feel really well designed and fun so that you want to fight them over and over again, and these are very well done. But to top it all off, you fight them with a really well done combat system. Before I even get into the skills or the skill tree, even the core moveset of Khazan, you have a block, a dodge. You can have a perfect block and a perfect dodge. Simple, nice. You have a counter attack, which counters specific moves that bring up a prompt on Khazan, similar to the Naikiri counter, I think it's called, from Sekiro. And then you have a parry, just like if you would have had a shield in Dark Souls, that reflects a lot every move and is super punishing to the enemy because you have to time it and it's really hard. That already in and of itself is a lot more than I feel like these games will usually do, and the fact that it's in this game and it's done it's done well, it's surprising to me. But on top of that, the weapons themselves, there's 3 different types of weapons. Right now I'm using the spear, but just from watching other people's gameplay and experimenting a little bit, I can confidently say that the skill tree on all of the weapons are different, nuanced, interesting, and every single time you have a skill point, it feels fun and rewarding to actually look at the skill tree and pick something, because every upgrade is extremely meaningful, right? Another trap that games like this can fall into with the skill tree is having a lot of fake skill points, I like to call them, where sure, in the game there's a block, a dodge, a parry, a perfect block, all this shit, but it'll be locked behind the skill tree. In Stellar Blade, for example, you have to unlock your perfect dodge. You have to unlock a double dodge. Or let's say you have a combo like square, square, triangle. You'll spend a skill point on square, square, triangle, triangle. Very boring, uninteresting upgrades on top of stuff like health or raw damage, right? In Khazan, every skill point that you use is either going to give you a whole new base move that you could use just within your kit, a whole new skill that you can attach to the 6 different skill slots. On top of, there are general upgrades, but even these general upgrades feel interesting and more meaningful. The skill tree, to my surprise, is the backbone of what makes the combat interesting, and it is very well done, honestly. I don't think these devs, I'm not familiar with these. I'm pretty sure this is like their first game, and if this is what they're cooking with this first game, I think if there was a second one, I'm already a little excited because they know what they're doing, right? They've definitely done their homework when it comes to how an action game should feel and control. Moving on from that, just generally playing the game, right? The level designs, the levels are nice, they're linear, they're not open, sprawling, but there's definitely a lot of branching pathways, a lot of secrets to find, collectibles, loot, chests, things of that nature. I haven't found any hidden bosses or anything like that. Something like Wukong, I think it had a lot of that in the sense of going off the beaten path and finding optional content. Here, you go off the beaten path, a lot of the times you'll find a chest or a key item or some sort of upgrade for your character. This game also has a lot of quality of life that I wouldn't really think that I would want for a Souls-like action game, but I'm very happy it's here. Things like you're able to just teleport back to the bonfires like you can in a usual game. But if you go back to the one that was right before a boss fight and go through the door again, you can just refight a boss over and over. This is useful because you'll get gear, the specific gear sets from the bosses, which is also a cool mechanic because these gear sets can have pretty unique effects. Some of them will be unique to your weapon. They can give you a whole new skill. Really cool. You can do it to farm money and levels, but it's also just cool to be able to just, oh, that was a really fun boss fight. Let me just fight him a few times again. You know, that I think that's a really cool aspect of this game that I didn't really know I wanted, but yeah, it would be nice if I could just from the bonfire just refight a boss, you know, at all times in a lot of these games, right? Since they are the main event. There's a lot of other quality of life stuff, but I think you're starting to get the point. The action, really good. The boss is really good. The RPG mechanics, I wouldn't say those are really good, but they're streamlined and good enough to where it feels rewarding to engage with the loot and and upgrading your gear and stuff like that. But I guess it's time to start moving on into the negatives. Not that many, but this isn't a perfect game. You can tell, like I said earlier, it is sort of riding that line between AA and AAA. Thankfully, it is only $60. It's not $70, so hey. The story, it's okay. Nothing to write home about. There's a lot of good voice acting, I feel like. The main 2 characters you're going to hear a lot is Ben Starr as Khazan, and I don't know who's playing the Phantom that takes over your body, spoiler, in the first 10 minutes. But he sounds really cool. A lot of the voices sound really cool. I'm playing it in English. I'm sure it sounds fine in Japanese too. But the story, it's fine. One aspect of the story is I will say it's cool that you feel like you are a main character within a story that's presently unfolding. And in a lot of the Souls games, you're sort of propped into like 2,000 years after all the main shit happened, and you're just sort of reading all the lore and figuring out what happened. In this game, you're like a key player in the main event, if that makes sense, which is kind of nice. But again, the story so far, I'm not that far. I feel like I'm taking it a little slow, going back and refighting the bosses and stuff, but it's okay. The loot system, similar to other games like Neo, it can feel not overwhelming, but you're most likely going to find an armor set from one of the bosses that you like, and once that happens, a lot of the stuff you find is going to feel really pointless, really boring. It can be cool to find an armor set and look and see, okay, this is a part of a set, and then you see the set bonuses, and you know, maybe you think in the future, if you're going to keep playing, this might be fun to use. But generally, once you find a good armor set that you're going to want to use, then you're not really rewarded as much for going out and exploring, because a lot of these chests are going to just have armor pieces that you've probably already found before, right? In an Elden Ring or a Dark Souls, every chest is usually a unique weapon, a unique accessory, a unique magic item, right? Of course, I'm sure some of them have like raw materials, right? But you get the idea. It's a lot more interesting to go out of your way and find all these unique items and gears and such in a Souls game, even if you're not going to use them, just because it's cooler. But also you might use them, and it makes your mind start to wander on, it might be fun to combine this, it might be fun to switch to this, it might be fun to try this next time, right? There's a lot less of that in this game by nature of just how the loot system works. I imagine you'll find one set that you use for 20 hours and then another set you'll use for the last 40, right? Which isn't that interesting, at least in my opinion. It's an online video game, but it doesn't feel like an online video game at all. There's no death shadows to see how people died. There's no messages. There's no PvP. There is this revenant system where I think what it is if people die nearby, you can fight their ghost. But you don't even get the name of the player. You just get the name of a generic blah 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 adversary. And then you fight them, and that's it. The game is online, but might as well just be a completely single player game, especially because you can't pause it. I don't get why you can't pause this game, right? Especially if these online mechanics are going to be so bare bones, you can barely even tell it's an online game. I think that's everything. Like I said, not too many negatives, especially because with this game, it's clearly what you see is what you get. If you're going into it not expecting some sort of 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 Elden Ring game, but a really great, solid, Souls-like action game with a cool anime aesthetic, I will say there's a lot of aura going around with Khazan and the Shadow Lord gods, a lot of aura between the two of them, right? So if you go in looking for a nice, solid 8.5, maybe even a 9, depending on who you are, I think this game definitely a surprise hit for me. I'm having a lot of fun with it. If you're a fan of these games, if it looks interesting, I do think you should pick it up. I think I covered all the bases. That's the video, and thank you for watching.